Do Spoilers Ruin Media. If you're watching this on YouTube, this podcast goes live every single Monday here on Twitch. If you want to see it live, you know the place to go. And likewise to everyone here in chat, if you are watching the podcast here live and you miss it or you're unavailable in a following Monday, do not fret. It will be posted full uncut version straight to YouTube, so you will not miss a thing if this is something you're interested in based on the topic we're talking about. But without further ado, you know the topic. I'm Burt Mackland. You probably already know that. If you don't, pleasure to meet you. I hope to make you entertained. We're going to go down the line and introduce our speakers tonight, and then we will get rolling. Mark, take it away.
Hey, I'm Mark. I was here last week.
Sick, high quality.
Well, listen now. Listen. If you want to know who I am, you got to go back to last week's video and watch it, and I will tell you there.
Yeah, we're creating the Burt Macklin cinematic universe.
Oh Jesus!
So if you
the BCU,
listen, see, I know what I'm doing.
You're painting me. Jeremy, stop yelling.
I'm literally muted.
All right, well,
gonna
who are you?
introduce yourself, or do we have to introduce you?
Can
My
we
name's
just kick him out?
Jeremy. I'll probably get kicked out.
He's our
what
least
other
favorite
friends
friend.
Mm-hmm.
It's not true.
What?
Okay,
That's fair.
all right. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Chris
He's
Kidd used to be in the friend
he's
group,
the
so there's
least-
like
I'm the
he's-
second
Chris-
least favorite.
yeah.
then
Listen,
there's, like,
he's the
Jared.
least favorite person that will be on the podcast. Jared will most likely not make an appearance on the podcast because he doesn't have things that are interesting for you guys to listen to. So for the time being, Jeremy will hold the bottom roster seat.
So the thing
Wait,
is,
That's fine.
with
What
Jared,
comments
I
to put
feel
on your
like
friend-
we'd be in a great point, and then he'd be like, "So, I tried out this new Senate bill the other day." And,
All right, Nick, why don't you take it away and introduce yourself, bud?
well, no, it's Mikhail's
Nope.
turn.
Already
Alright.
magnified you.
All right, my name's Nick Kunkel. I'm the only person that's ever gotten kicked out of a cult for being too into it. It was a very interesting time. Whether or not you know me, somehow your mother has heard of me. Whether or not that's from me being in her bed or me being in the bed of her best friend. You
All right,
know, it
Nick,
kinda
we're
gets
done
around.
with that. We're done with that. Okay, Mikhail.
Yeah, shut the fuck up, Nick. Your virginity regrew back. Also, they kicked you out of the Catholic Church because you were too into kids. Anyway,
Well, wait.
just to give them the complete backstory of the cult he was involved with. I'm Mikhail. I was here last week. Go rewatch that to get. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey.
I don't know. I'm a nerd. Fuck Mark. He is the bottom tier friend. Jeremy is maybe a little bit above, depending on the.
Hey Mario, can I redo my introduction? I didn't like the first take of it.
This is one cut, but sure. Here, go. Have at it.
All
Try
right,
again.
cool, yeah.
No one. Listen. Just pretend like you guys didn't see the first one. This is the first time.
Yeah,
Nikki's
it didn't
introduced-
happen. It
Yeah.
didn't happen.
Hi everyone, my name is Nick. I am an accountant, recently graduated with
accountant.
a Bachelor of Arts. Yeah, accountant, tax fraud committer.
How's that CPA coming?
He's helping me commit tax evasion.
I'm gonna go for a CMA, not a CPA.
I don't. What the fuck is a CMA?
Certified Management Accountant.
Oh, okay.
It's a little, it's more
Yeah,
focused
instead of
towards
a
private
child
company.
porn accountant.
Hey, what's your address?
Listen, I don't care what he does in his free time.
My
He's helping me evade
address
taxes
is,
here on Twitch.
My address is nikkyj.com.
I'm gonna go buy that domain right now.
If you fucking buy that, I'll buy it off of you and just have the most gorgeous picture of me in existence. Which I think should be the topic of the podcast next week. What is
Sandra
the best
Bullock.
photo of me ever?
Anyways, so
Emma
we
Stone
are.
is the new person.
Shut the fuck up, Nick. So listen, what we're talking about today is do spoilers ruin media? We're gonna kind of run it down first. We'll go through everyone's initial thoughts and opinions, whether they do or they do not. If anything they want to add right off the bat, and we'll kind of delve deeper into that as we go. Mark, hit us with your thoughts.
I don't think that I think that's not something that I can give just a straight yes or no answer to. I think that in some forms they can, and in some forms they're fine.
I think the whole point of the podcast is you gotta pick a side, though. No.
Jeremy, No, you don't have to pick a side. If you want to be,
okay.
if you want to be a middle road bitch, you know, that's fair. Mark tends to
I
be a
live
middle road
my
bitch.
life straddling that
Yeah.
edge, baby.
If you want to be like Mark and you only have 3 or 4 brain cells rattling around and you can't
Two.
make a compelling two brain
Two.
cells rattling around, you can't make a compelling argument one way or the other. You stay in the
I got 2 brain cells and 2 cats, one for each cat.
Aww.
All right, Jeremy, what are your thoughts? Spoilers, media, go.
I tend to say that in general, I do slightly agree with Mark that it does greatly depend on the piece of media you're talking about. But I do say in general, yes, spoilers do ruin the media.
Eating some daddy's cummies right there. Well, Kyle, what are your thoughts?
We've talked about this before, and I've kind of been thinking about it, ruminating. And I think it depends on what people consider a spoiler. By definition, an etymological spoiler, i.e., spoil, would in fact spoil whatever the media is. But like, spoiling quote unquote, Dumbledore dies at the end. Which, for those of you who haven't watched The Mandalorian yet, watch it. You know, I think we need to kind of rethink what is a spoiler. Like just saying things that happen inside of the whatever media you're watching. Like that's not gonna ruin the experience if it's done well. If you have a compelling story, you're still interested to see how it gets there. You're still gonna be surprised by it. But I'm excited to talk.
Splendid. Nikki J.
So wait, so in TLDR, do you think you lean more they do or they don't?
I say by definition they do, but
Okay.
also parentheses what most people consider a spoiler. I don't think is really a spoiler. Like just telling somebody preemptively, which it still makes you a dick, because if you're actively trying to ruin the experience, you're a dick. But saying preemptively what happens inside of a given media does not necessarily constitute a spoiler. Like a spoiler is information to me that that would spoil the experience. So I'll kind of bring that up more when we get into like case study examples, like when we talk about things that have been spoiled.
Like specific things.
Yeah. So that's my stance. I think spoilers spoil, but not everything is a spoiler.
There. Nick?
I think that the effect of the spoiler and the amount of something being spoiled has a pretty much like an exponential difference on like the significance of it. So in the 2 seconds of prep time I just took while Mikhail was talking, I made this little graph here. Okay. And it is extremely exponential, okay? So like over here is like Bran Stark gets pushed out a window, and like if you're like, oh dude, spoilers, then you just haven't watched the first fucking episode of Game of Thrones. And that's on you.
Middle of the line. That's okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I wonder how many things we're gonna spoil.
Hey, we don't
during
care on
this.
this channel. I'm going to go out of my way to spoil every single thing that I can.
Middle line here, I'm gonna make a controversial statement. Is finding out that Vader is Luke Skywalker's father.
And then something like at the end here is whenever it turns an entire story onto its head. That it kind of ruins the media. The only example that I could give, and the only person I think has watched it, is Mario. But if someone ever spoiled the show Dark on Netflix, like that will just fucking break your mind if you don't understand what's going on. Like imagine figuring out the whole Mikhail and Michael and Mikhail thing.
What?
Like before
in the show Dark, those are names of characters.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. They're two different characters, and there's a link between the two of them that's like very crucial. But like if someone spoiled that and like what that actually is, it would ruin the entire first season if you didn't if someone came in and was like, oh yeah, like XYZ, like that would ruin it and kind of definitely ruin the media. So I think that the spoiler Like the significance of the spoiler increases, increases the effect of how much it ruins the media.
Fair. So we'll round up with, I guess, my initial thoughts. Where I kind of land on this is that spoilers of any sort, regardless of size or quantity, they do not harm media. They can harm bad media, is what I'll say. I think that if a piece of media is good and is good on its own merits, regardless of plot twists or surprises or secrets that it contains, that having that secret revealed will not negatively affect the show. If something is not as good on the second rewatch or is unwatchable after the fact because you know the twist or you know what thing that has been spoiled, probably wasn't really that good to start off with, and it kind of rode the high of that spoil. What I will say is spoilers can ruin surprise, spoilers can ruin suspense, and spoilers can ruin hype. Actually damaging the real media itself, I think, is pretty much based on the fact of if the media was already good or bad. The spoilers and what you do or do not know going in do not really change the end product of the media, but what they can do is damage your excitement and your hype. And I'm sure that I'll be going more into my thought process as this conversation continues.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Like, it ruins the viewer experience, is what you're saying. Not the actual media.
Yeah.
Yeah, ruin being a very
vague term, yes.
Subjective.
Intense term.
Like I said, sort of like going off what Mark said earlier, I think it's very subjective and like dependent on, I think I'd argue that the biggest factor in determining it is like almost like the genre of the media we're talking. Because like if you get a spoiler in a comedy, the deliverance of a climax of a point and plot in a comedy is more about the journey to the climax of the plot rather than like the climax itself. But if you have like a suspense or like let's say like a mystery piece, I feel like the climax is the whole deliverance of that instance. So if you like spoil like something like that, and then like it's varies throughout like I don't know like sci-fi and stuff like that, if that makes sense.
I definitely get what you're saying. I would say though that I think a pretty modern movie example of a mystery is Knives Out. And honestly, I think that the second rewatch I had on that movie was still phenomenal. When you know the entire plot, you know the tricks and curves, and you know the whole mystery. You've seen the unraveled form. It still is good. Obviously it's a completely different. It's also sort of, I feel like a horror film kind of experiences the same thing. You know, part of the suspense of a horror movie, especially something like a slasher flick or a monster movie where not all the main characters or the characters are going to make it out alive. A lot of that suspense and tension is built upon the fact of you don't know at any moment, is this character about to die? Once you've seen the movie through, well, now you know at the point at which they die, so that specific type of suspense is gone. So I think that if anything, spoilers can have the most effect on a first viewing, but after that they kind of lose all power, for obvious reasons.
Well,
but
I would argue that there are movies where that first viewing experience is in some ways crucial to the subsequent viewing. Movies where it's not so much that there's a twist at the end, but where you're sort of watching the movie and interpreting one way, and then at the end of the film, and I'll get to an example of this, you have like a new interpretation and things click. That experience of, going one way and then being snapped into a different direction, when you go to reinterpret the film, if you didn't get that sort of initial thought process of what you were thinking versus what you know now, you can't go back and appraise. And the example that I'll raise for this, where, I think a movie can sort of be spoiled from the beginning, and not ruin subsequent viewings, but sort of change your subsequent viewing, would be Blade Runner. And it counts for the book too. But going into Blade Runner, knowing, and I guess I'll just say it because I don't think this is a spoiler anybody gives a shit about.
I will point out, I'll remind you guys, the viewers, or the co-hosts, and if you are in chat right now, the spoiler tag is on this podcast for the stream right now. So if you don't want to have media damaged or harmed, sucks to be you. What's up?
Double check your tags, because right now the ones I'm seeing are English, NA server, PvP.
You might need to refresh it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, sorry.
I haven't seen or read Blade Runner, but oh well, I guess.
I mean, it's. I get what I mean to say. It's been out long enough that anybody who would have cared has gone through it.
If you haven't seen the movie already, then it's likely you'll never see it.
Which I do recommend you watch Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And read the book.
It's a fantastic movie.
Do do Android Stream of Electric Sheep, and the sequel is amazing. I mean, I highly recommend. But Blade Runner. The first time I watched that movie, and it took me a couple times. Like, I remember the first time I watched the movie, I read the book, and I think I watched the movie like a third time, and then I understood, and I kind of got this point. Deckard, like the main guy, is a replicant, and technically that was not technically it used to be a fan theory that has since been confirmed. But not knowing that, going into your first viewings, readings, you interpret the relationship between the replicants and the the Blade Runners. You interpret the relationship of the replicants and the Blade Runners in a particular way, and for me, that was, sort of viewing the replicants as this, black sheep class. They think they're alive, but they probably aren't, because they're just more or less robots. And after a couple times, you realize the whole time the perspective you've had is the perspective of a replicant, that you as the viewer are a replicant, and that is incredibly powerful. And if you know that going into it, if you already have this pre-concept that, okay, I'm watching a movie or reading a book from the perspective of a replicant, like, you don't get that literal, the exact same twist that the people inside of the book get. And being able to feel that for yourself is, to me, crucial in interpretation. So
I don't want to contest this point, because I do agree with you on majority of what you said.
You're not allowed to contest.
What I do want to say is that I think that the spoilers tend to be subjective to the type of media that it is. A film like Blade Runner, it is inherently more thought-provoking than, a popcorn flick or, an 80s action movie. And I think that kind of aids into the fact of why the spoiler can affect the viewing experience so much more. I want to cite a couple examples here with this point. The Empire Strikes Back nowadays is known as, it's critically acclaimed. Most people tend to say it is the best Star Wars film out of the bunch. Any of the side films, any of the things, it is, held in the highest regards. But when the movie came out, it actually received a lot of critic backlash and fan backlash. People did not fucking like that Darth Vader was Luke's dad. People did not like the darker tone. People did not like that the bad guys won. That's all separate points, but the big aspect here is, the whole twist of Darth Vader is Luke's dad. No one knew that going in back in the day, and the general consensus at the time was majority negative. And I also want to cite a more modern example with Terminator Dark Fates, where they kind of, I know most of you probably haven't seen that. Honestly, don't recommend it unless you're a diehard Terminator fan.
I have seen it. I like it.
They, of course you did, you fucking degenerate. But in the beginning of the film, the trailers and the marketing really led you to believe that it was going to kind of, utilize Terminator's timey-wimey nonsense, and you were going to kind of have an almost alternate angle of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which you do in a sense. But in the beginning of the film, the Terminator just strolls up and just murders fucking what the hell's his name?
John Connor.
Yeah, just murders John Connor. Like, just comes out of left field. Literally, you're not expecting it at all, and just boom, murders a kid, and you're like, what the fuck? And
that's a movie I want to see.
Again,
thank God.
Yeah, but again, the public response was not very positive to that. Because they were expecting one thing and got something completely different. Well, I do say that like both of those twists I think are good. The initial response to not expecting them to a casual moviegoer was very negative. But then I want to cite now the flip of this coin, and I'm going to go to the MCU. Captain America Civil War, the marketing didn't hide it. The marketing didn't give a shit about spoilers. They just were like, hey, here's a trailer, and guess what? Spider-Man! He's in the movie! He's right here! And backflip! He got Cap's shield! They just threw it right out there, gave it right to you, threw it in your face. And it's funny, the people who got upset at that were the more deep dive, self-titled nerds, and they got very upset. Oh, so spoilers ruin movies, or trailers rather. And people get really upset, I think, that are so into this stuff, and think that trailers ruin movies. But I think that, it's kind of this fine line between knowing your audience and not knowing your audience. And when a movie is intended for a specific type of audience, like something like Terminator Dark Fates was going for a general audience action blockbuster demographic, but then pulled some shit that only like deep dive Terminator fans were really going to get behind. Your average fan who doesn't really understand the timeline nonsense is going to kind of see what happens in the first 5 minutes and go, what the fuck is this? Whereas on the flip side, with something like Captain America Civil War, the diehard fans were frustrated and pissed that they had the reveal of Spider-Man kind of taken from them by a trailer, whereas the casual moviegoers, someone who may have been like, a third Captain America, why do I give a shit, is now going to go, holy fuck, Spider-Man's in that movie? And now they're going to go. So I think it kind of goes both ways with spoilers. I think in some ways spoiling things can help benefit movies.
I think...
Well, sort of even, with staying within the MCU, like, the shock of those who are not comic book readers when they went and saw Infinity War. Like, because I didn't read any of the fucking comments. I went into that movie not knowing what the fuck was going to happen.
Jeremy?
Yeah, literally, I can't read. So, like, obviously, Infinity War spoilers, you had a long time to see it, but, like, when Thanos fucking snapped, and instead of them fixing it, and the movie just fucking ended, like, me going and rewatching that, there was the first watch and the second rewatch were so distinctly different situations that if I would have been robbed of that first watch, I don't even think I would have gone and saw it a second time, if that makes sense.
And that's another example, I think. This movie specifically Endgame and Infinity War. This is like literally cinematic history. And I don't mean to give MCU too much credit. They are just superhero movies. But like this culmination of a cinematic universe has never happened before, ever in the history of movies.
That's fair.
Arguably the closest we've come to it would be with the Godzilla franchise way back in the day. But
you mean the Need for Speed movies?
Oh, well, that doesn't count. That's literally its own genre of like there's like film, there's movies, there's the Need for Speed franchise. But we have never in any amount of film have we ever had this moment. And I think that initial need to have like everything, all the surprises back, it isn't so much about like being able to appraise the film or like, the viewing experience, but literally being one of those few people in history to have been there when this is brand spanking new. You know, that feeling when you're in the theaters, and I felt this when I went to see the Star Wars movie. And I felt this when I saw Endgame and stuff. Being in that moment and thinking to myself, like, this is cinematic history. I am experiencing a moment in history. People will ask you, where were you when Endgame came out? Do you remember? Never forget, They'll ask
Where were you
these-
when John Lennon killed?
Yeah. So that's, I think, the spoilage there. What is spoiled is that sense of being in a time and a place. If you
See,
knew that, it wouldn't have been intact.
Disagree with that.
I do not agree with that at all. Specifically in this genre of movie, in these superhero movies, when I watch these movies, I know what's going to happen. Pretty much without fail, I have a general understanding of what's going on and what's going to happen because I've seen these stories before.
So
And
did someone?
the sense of wonder with this like surprise being brought upon me is replaced with anticipation, which is I love going to the movies because I know what happens and I'm excited for the build up. I can tell when it's going on. When we went to see the last MCU movie, I can't remember what it was called. I was like making noises and squealing, and Jade told me to stop talking because
I think it was the second Spider-Man movie was the most recent one, right?
no, the like the last Avengers movie.
Endgame.
Oh,
Endgame. She had to tell me to stop making noises because I was like squealing because Captain America, because that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so
imagine if that got spoiled. Imagine if they just showed that in the trailer.
Yeah, the Captain America was going to be an Endgame. Like,
so the thing is I will say this, taking Jeremy as an example as, a more casual viewer to the MCU, and just the Marvel properties, the reason why pulling things off, like the Thanos snap and the surprise of seeing Captain America hold Mjolnir, the thing is, they have built your trust as a viewer over 22 movies. Over almost 10 years. That they consistently, even if you take the bottom of the barrel, you want to say, oh, Thor the Dark World is dog shit, The Incredible Hulk is dog shit, blah, 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 blah. You want to cry, complain? Yeah, you know what? They're dog shit relative to the other MCU films, but they're not, it's not like they're awful, terrible, evil movies that, like, if I'm in a room and Thor the Dark World's on, I'm not going to be like, turn this shit off! It's so fucking bad! I can't take this movie. Like, no one has that reaction. You might be like, oh, this is my least favorite MCU film.
There's like
But
Thor
like
the Dark World, and then there's the woman with Halle Berry, and like Batman Forever.
Daredevil with fucking...
Fuck you. You're incorrect. You're wrong. You are wrong. Take that back right now, you dumb motherfucker.
Nope.
Daredevil was a good movie.
What about Ghost Rider?
Was it though?
The first one
Ghost
was-
Rider
the
is
first one
a
was-
cinematic masterpiece, and no one can tell me
Oh, Jesus
otherwise.
Christ. But anyways,
100%
the point is...
dude, Knack 2.
Next two, baby.
The movie.
Oh,
But yeah, no. My point is just that they have built that viewer trust over such a long period of time. When the Spider-Man reveal happened in the trailers, that was entirely a marketing ploy, and it was done in an intelligent way. And the thing is by the time you get to Endgame, they don't need to show you Captain America with Mjolnir beforehand to get you to go. Because the thing is, if that's what's getting you in the theaters, that's not gonna get you that's the thing.
if that's all the movie had to offer.
Like, if you saw that on screen, like on a trailer, you weren't gonna go, man, I haven't seen a single one of these MCU films. but I want to watch that. Like, that's just probably not going to happen. So the thing is they've already built that trust and that you are invested in what's going on to have the payoff of these types of things. Whereas, things that have not done as much build up, take something like fucking the DC movies, Justice League, Batman v Superman, even other media franchises that have gone into film. Look at the Assassin's Creed movie with Michael Fassbender. It's an absolute train wreck because they're banking on every single person there being an absolute diehard for Assassin's Creed, who's played every game, every side quest, knows every character, read the books, read the comics, knows literally everything there is to know. But then you go and watch the movie, and it's nothing more than a fucking popcorn action flick for children. And
straw poll of you guys, who has seen the Assassin's Creed movies? I have not seen the Assassin's Creed movies.
I've seen it. Don't watch it. It's bad. It's really, really bad. It marketed itself as something for diehard fans of the game, but then ended up being not. Which it's fine that it wasn't. It's like we're kind of sidelining into another conversation here, but I think that a lot of these issues surrounding spoilers and reveals and things like that revolve around with certain movies, the marketing and the actual product don't line up at all. And I think that, when it comes to spoiling, I feel like sometimes the creators themselves or the studio don't really have a good understanding as to what is something that can be spoiled or what is something that should not be spoiled. And that's why you have things like Disney where, Mark Hamill talked about when they were filming the Star Wars movies, like they would move people from set locations and trailers with black hoods and these giant shroud umbrellas and yada, yada, yada. And he was like, it felt so weird. But like, Disney's at a point where anything could be a spoiler. So instead of risking anything, they just provide nothing. And on the other end, you have, a lot of studios and you have a lot of creators that are just kind of like throwing shit out there and things are in trailers. And, you got some things like fucking Ralph Wrecks the Internet or Ralph Breaks the Internet because some fucking moron named the movie wrong. Ralph Breaks the Internet. Like, if you watched
that's just
if you watched the trailer, you saw the movie. You get all three center plot beats. You get the start of the problem, you get the climax, and you get the resolution literally in the fucking trailer. It ruins the entire fucking movie. Like, there's no longer an incentive to see movie because you literally know the plot beats. And like, I still watched it because I'm a fucking nerd and I have nothing better to do with my time at that point. I watched the movie anyways. But when you have a general audience member, if they see that trailer, why is a mom and dad going to take their kids to go see Ralph Breaks the Internet when they already know what happens?
And they just want to see it. Oh, mom, dad, take me to see this movie, and I'm not going to stop bringing it up until you do, bitch. Kids suck.
Fuck kids.
You know how many times my nephew...
In video games.
You know how many times my nephew saw Big Hero 6?
Several.
Or Big Hero
probably
6.
a lot of times because that's a fantastic fucking movie.
Or,
a good
no,
movie.
I'm sorry, not Big Hero 6. What's the fucking Iron Giant Big Hero 6 crossover Netflix did? It's like...
What? Hold on.
like-
What?
Giant Big
No,
Hero
the
6
plot- it's
crossover
kind
and I
of like-
haven't fucking seen it yet?
It's like a Netflix original movie. It's animated. It's kind of... The plot is like a cross... Yeah, it's like a cross
Listen,
between...
Jeremy, listen to me. From now
You're-
on,
Use your words.
you cannot say
It was
Big
good.
Hero Iron Giant crossover like that because I've never been that excited in my entire life. You need to
Well,
fucking watch
I'm
it.
Six,
sorry
Bigger
that
Hero.
you don't have exciting games in your right. No, I got it.
Can you use your words a little bit more effectively, Jeremy, in describing them?
No. I'm looking it up. It's called Next Gen.
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Let's look it up.
Dude, I'm not even caught up with the current gen.
Bruh.
I'm
My
still on a
fucking
PS4, dude.
niece and nephew. I've seen this movie 6 times. And I was like, 2 times they came over. Yeah, I don't even know how many times they saw this at home.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing / hearing about this.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but like,
You mean
It's
it's
just
not
fucking
as
dumb.
good on the 6th rewatch?
oh no, it's not bad the first watch. I wouldn't watch it more than once.
It's not bad the first one. It's not good.
I
the
mean,
second.
listen. All I'm gonna say, it's got John Krasinski, Jason Sudeikis, Charlene Yee, Michael Pena, David Cross. Like, you know,
Well, like I don't know, Mark. I think that really depends on the individual because I don't watch things more than once, really ever.
Mm.
I can count on one hand the number of shows that I've seen more than once.
you must have never
I
seen
will
anything
not
that good.
watch TV shows more than once. Generally, aside from like Futurama, things like that. I will watch movies multiple times if they're really good. Like I've
I
watched The
can
Dark Knight like
also
600 times.
That's fair.
so minus
Hot
the
take, Dark Knight bad.
MCU, 'cause, like minus
don't even
the
fucking
MCU.
start.
That's not a
I'm
I'm
debate,
joking.
dude.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I was about to say we were about to fucking.
Shut the
this
fuck
stream
up.
was
Shut the
about to
fuck
have
up.
a
Shut up.
complete
Shut up. Jeremy's
topic.
talking.
That's like saying the war on drugs was.
No, what is Jeremy saying?
But like similarly, like minus the MCU because me and Katie rewatched it together. So if you exclude the MCU, we also didn't finish it. I could count on easily one hand the number of movies I've seen twice as well.
Well, what are they?
Probably
Can you
James
count
and
on one hand?
funny. Probably like James and the Giant Peach, The Way Back, because me and Mikhail rewatched
yeah.
that.
movie. Dumbledore
Seen
dies
more
at the
than
end
once.
of it. It's really good.
Actually, those might be the only two movies I've seen more than once, and then oh, I've seen Limitless one more than once.
No.
And then the MCU, I've seen the MCU, several of the MCU movies more than once.
the movie about the gun runner. I'm totally blanking on the name.
Oh,
War Dogs?
fucking War Dogs, you're
War
right.
Dogs.
All right,
Yeah,
so
you've
that's
seen that.
4.
Oh, and Wolf.
No, I've only okay, yeah, fine. Wolf on Wall Street makes 5.
The problem is Jeremy's a Philistine, and
What is
doesn't
that?
believe art exists. Somebody who's like against art.
He's from Palestine. That's what it means.
Yeah,
Palestine, Palestine.
Whoa, all right. I can get behind not liking art, but watch it there.
I thought that was gonna be next week's discussion, but
Yo, so spoilers for the 1980 war. Oh, the 6-Day War.
where do you guys fall on the Captain America or Spider-Man being a spoiler in whatchamacallit?
Civil War.
Yeah, thank you. Do you
I don't
guys
think it
think that them showing Spider-Man was a spoiler, or do you not?
No.
I think that honestly, if the people who make the movie release it, then it can't be a spoiler because it's meant to be seen.
Yeah, but
I
like
can
then
get
you have
behind
things
that.
like Wreck-It Ralph 2, Electric Boogaloo, where they just tell you the whole movie. Which, I mean, I can agree it's technically not a spoiler, because it is a trailer. But at the same time, if we're talking about the effect of sort of ruining, like, did that kind of ruin part of the film for you? Did it
didn't
ruin the
Me,
ride?
no, it just got me excited about it.
And should they not have done it? I guess is what.
I feel like Spider-Man being in the movie had nothing to do with the climax of the movie.
I agree. Personally, I think people who got mad about them making Spider-Man a surprise are the people who also would have heard that that like through leaks and other things that Spider-Man was going to be in the movie. Like Mario and I have been talking a lot about like just different people who have been on set for this upcoming Spider-Man movie and like what that means for the film. Those to me are the people who know about like that would have been the same people who are like they showed.
It's one of those things where the reason I'm not upset about it and it didn't bother me is because I'm able to know objectively, like, if I had not known Spider-Man was going to be in Civil War going in, as someone who's such a massive fan, it would have been like just a phenomenal top tier first viewing. Like having that like moment of, and I think it's done great in the movie even when you know it's coming, because it's like, you know, Tony Stark kind of subtly references someone and you're kind of like, what the heck? And then, Vampire Weekend plays, and they cut to New York, and it's like, just gets you right in the right headspace, and just dives straight balls deep into Spider-Man. And like, I feel like if that would have happened to someone who was a really big fan of like those characters, not knowing, it would have been a really, really good experience. But the thing is I, for one, am happy that they did it, because like I said earlier, them revealing that got so many more people to go see Captain America Civil War, which means more money for the MCU, which means more sequels, more money, more movies, and the thing that I like just keeps getting made more of.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I agree. I think generally it was an attempt just to show audiences, especially like more casual viewers, that like there are still new superheroes being incorporated in, that they are working to get properties that don't belong to Marvel in. I mean, Spider-Man does belong to Marvel, but the film rights don't.
Yeah,
That
they
kind
did
of
that
So
with
this is a note from Katie. So
Hmm.
question for the group is, at what point does is the like how thin is the line where showing things in the trailer sort of transitions from not a spoiler to hype up the people to like just a flat out like either cash grab, or like they show the plot of the movie to get people like excited for that, and
I
even though
mean,
they showed the whole movie.
I don't think that there is an objective for that, because the answer to that question depends on what the viewer cares about. Like, does somebody care that Spider-Man? We'll use this as the specific example. Does somebody care about Spider-Man being in the movie? At all? So like, there's that. There's the subjectivity of what consists of like plot spoilers and what doesn't. Some people would argue that Spider-Man being in the movie is a plot spoiler. Some people would argue that it's not. I personally don't think it is. I don't think many reasonable people would argue that it is. But like, that's kind of a line. So I don't know. There are examples out there that are more egregious than others, like Wreck-It Ralph 2 Electric Boogaloo. But, for me, that's not like riding on the thin line. That's literally just posting the plot of the movie, the beginning, the
See,
middle, and the end in the trailer. So that's
I was
not a
gonna
subtle
say,
example.
I'm gonna hard disagree with you saying that there really isn't a line, and I would say that the line is giving up a crucial plot point.
There is
Spider-Man coming into the movie is not a crucial plot point to Civil War. It was, in my opinion, just sort of like a throw-in. Really, you do have Spider-Man, you don't have Spider-Man. It plays out the same way.
I guess I mean to say that there is a line, but that line is going to be different for everybody.
Okay, then yeah, that's fair.
Because
But
like, I mean, there is.
I think whenever it crosses over into being a spoiler is whenever you reveal a major plot point. Spider-Man being
inbound
revealed.
Spoiler, since we're on Civil War, inbound spoiler. Like, if they had shown fucking Bucky murdering Stark's parents in the trailer,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah, like if they would have done that, it would have been like, well, what the fuck is this? Like,
yeah. And that to me is kind of where we get into like a more objective area, because like if we're talking about the fine line, to me that's not necessarily the fine line. That's an example where like really nobody would argue that that wasn't straight up a spoiler,
Yeah.
When you get into the nitty gritty of, is this, isn't this, that, like, nobody's necessarily right or wrong in those cases. Like, for example, if they spoiled, which I don't remember the trailers, but if they spoil, which side of the aisle either of the two players are, like if they, which I'm pretty sure they did. It's not really, I don't consider this a spoiler, but like they let you know Captain America's stance and they let you know Iron Man. And that is a plot crucial thing, that is critical to the plot of the movie, but knowing that ahead of the movie for most wouldn't spoil anything. But technically, by like Nick's definition of a spoiler, that would be a spoiler, which I'm not saying that Nick, your definition doesn't work. I think it does work, but it's just up to the individual,
Yeah, like how much do you care about that being revealed, do you?
Yeah.
Because that's a crucial plot point.
I don't think most people would. I don't really think anybody would say reasonably that is a spoiler. but it's just when you lay down those lines, people will fall on either side of it.
That's fair.
Are any of you familiar with the movie From Dusk Till Dawn?
That
No.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, I've heard of
I
it, but I don't know what the fuck it is.
I've definitely seen it. I just don't remember it.
It is written by Quentin Tarantino, not directed by. This is way back in the day. Stars George Clooney. It is a action horror film that was.
Oh, bye, Jeremy.
Oh, toodaloo.
Oh,
Good
bye,
riddance.
Jeremy. Damn.
Shea Wilburn, thank you for the follow, bro. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Not getting too hype. We're in the middle of the podcast. Thank you so much. It starts off like if you start watching it, right? Starts off like just a totally normal like bank heist movie, and like George Clooney and his brother, his character's brother, like rob a bank, get away with the money. They're on the run. They go to Mexico. They cross the Mexican border, and they're at a bar, and like, one thing leads to another, and then all of a sudden they're in a bar of vampire zombies, and all the bar patrons are vampire zombies, and they try to eat them and kill them.
Oh wait, yeah, I think I have seen this. Shit, is there a scene? Wait, no, I think I'm thinking of something else. Is there a scene? First of all, well, I'm just gonna look this up. I'm just gonna look that up.
You're good. You're good.
I think I've seen this.
So one thing I would say is that like in I can't remember, this was a few years back, but Quentin Tarantino had talked about how frustrated that like him and the director were with this movie, because the whole point of the movie is to be a debate to the audience. It was supposed to get you in your seat. You're 10-15 minutes in. You're thinking you're watching a crime thriller, and then the next thing you know, what? Vampire zombies? Action horror? Bloodlust? Murder? What? Like, that was the point of the movie. And the studio was pretty much like, yeah, we're just not going to do that. And then the trailers were like, didn't even show the beginning part. The trailers were just like, it was just a sizzle reel of, Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney just murdering vampire zombies in Mexico. So then when people went to go see the movie, this is the reason I bring this up, is because this is what I'd like to, not like to think, but it's almost like a reverse spoiler, because the movie was made out of the intention of it being this kind of like a 15-minute in reveal and completely changes the genre you think it is. But because of the marketing of the movie, the general audience was going in expecting just, an action horror film, which it is.
It's soiled.
But then spends the first 15 minutes going, what the fuck is happening? Am I in the wrong movie? And it doesn't make any sense. And you almost have this flipped reverse of, the debate is not at the end or at the climax. It's at the beginning of the film. And because of the marketing and the way the studio played it, it extremely negatively damaged the viewer experience. And there's a lot of people who kind of just shit on the movie because they're like, does it make sense? And it's like, it does. The trailers told you that it was something it wasn't. Yeah.
Danny Trejo is who I think of in that movie.
Yeah.
I have seen this movie before, and I enjoyed it. And I will say, when I saw this movie, obviously I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it when my Uncle Turtle showed it to me and was like, you're going to love this. I was like maybe 14. It was very inappropriate. And yeah, I got that backlash watching a completely different movie, and then all of a sudden there were vampires and titties and all kinds of shit. And it was fucking amazing. I really enjoyed it. And I could see that having that ruined kind of in the reverse, where you go and you're just confused, like, where's my movie? Okay, here it is, and then you're just watching the part you came to see. Like, that kind of strips the movie of its commentary, which I don't think it's like a very intelligent film with like a whole bunch of things to say. But if there is anything that it does say about film, you lose that, because at the end of the day, you're coming to see the violent vampire movie. It doesn't get to make its statement. And so I think when we're defining spoilers, we also have to consider, which is why I think you're bringing this up, artistic vision. if the marketing or the spoiler in question somehow detracts from the artistic vision that it has spoiled the film.
Yeah, thanks for just embellishing the shit out of my point, bro.
I got you, bro. It was a good movie.
Yeah, I think that, I think that at the end of the day, people need to gauge their own comfortability with spoilers, with movies, with anything, with trailers. I'm going to reference TikTok here, I know. Boomer alert. Go fuck yourself. Yeah, I watch TikTok. So there is a popular trend on TikTok right now of people trying to, it's not a negative trend. People are trying to do it for the right reasons. But they're pretty much, places like TikTok and other areas on the internet try to provide like a safe social space for people on the internet. But this trend has started on TikTok, and people are kind of telling people like the whole point of the video is like in the real world, like when you're not on TikTok, when you're not on Twitter, when you're at a job in an office building or working at Five Guys or on the street, people don't care about your triggers. People don't care about your your traumas and different things like that. And the intention behind it is good. And I think the same thing can really be applied here with movie spoilers, where you cannot expect other people to hold you accountable. Every time anything happens in pop culture, you always see people, whether it's Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, something will be posted, someone will show something, whether it's Luke in The Mandalorian the morning after, you'll see people that are in the comment section. Yada, 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 yada. You had no fucking right, blah, 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 fuck you. Yabba, dabba, 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 freaking out and getting all mad. If you're that type of person, I have a feeling this is probably not the first time that happened to you. And if it's not, and this is a recurring issue, maybe you should check your fucking self. If you are so easily frustrated by things being spoiled for you, whether they big or small, and you do not have the ability or the scheduling capabilities to watch and consume things like movies on release night or episodes of TV the second they air, maybe you should take steps to avoid things like social media for a small amount of time. Maybe you should take steps to let your friends know. Maybe you should take steps to let your social circles know, hey, I'm not going to get to see this, or I haven't seen this yet. Please don't spoil it for me. Don't be a reactionary, incendiary piece of shit who doesn't say anything, doesn't acknowledge it, and then when your buddy in the office goes, hey, you see Luke in The Mandalorian? And you're like, fuck you! And you flip off the handle. Not that I'm saying you do flip off the handle, and I'm not, obviously you can't prevent every scenario, but there are a lot of ways that if spoilers are something that negatively affect you as a viewer, you can do a lot of things to help protect yourself, and getting angry about them is not always the solution.
I agree 100%. And I feel like being able to say, like, hey, don't spoil this is like 99% of the time going to work. Like, how many times have you guys tried to bring up WandaVision whenever I'm in the call and I'm like, wait, I like want to watch that. Still haven't watched it. Please don't spoil.
Yep.
Well, and that's talking about the social implications of the spoil, on a macro sense, like, yeah, obviously, like when you're out in public, when you're on social media, people are gonna talk about things. And if you just so happen to be in that environment, sucks to suck. But, there is definitely, like, if you're the kind of person that goes out and specifically tries to spoil something, like, you're a dick. That's a bad thing to do. You are actively trying to ruin somebody's experience. And whether or not you do, like, that's a dick move. Likewise, but to a lesser extent, obviously, we're all friends with Nick. We know he hasn't seen WandaVision or, might not be caught up or whatever. I think it would also kind of be rude of us not, be at least somewhat aware of that and, not spoil things. Granted, we're all friends, so if one of us did accidentally say something, like if we talked about Dumbledore dying in the last episode,
Oh fuck! What? God
I thought
damn
you were
it!
caught up.
No.
Well, I'm sorry, and that's my point. We can apologize. We can.
Wait, did you really not know?
Wanda is Vision's father.
Yeah, wait. Dumbledore dies in the most recent episode of WandaVision?
Yes.
Bro.
I'm so confused. I that's not what I thought. I thought what you just said, Mikhail, was talking about Dumbledore dying in Harry Potter, like last episode of the
No, I
podcast.
said that he-
No.
And Nick responded like that, and I was like, Nick, you have such intense feelings about Harry Potter, and you haven't finished it. What the fuck is wrong
No,
with you?
God damn it! I've seen it 1,000.
And so that's like, interpersonally, like, I think it's valid to be frustrated on a case-to-case basis, but at the same time, the spoil, except for maybe the most extreme cases between friends, like, should never be anything that causes conflict beyond, like, oh man, I haven't seen that yet. Oh geez, I'm sorry, I didn't know or I forgot. Oh, that's all right, no biggie.
Unless
The
you're
kind of
gnome and then you
people
consistently freaking
spoil the Communist
shit
Manifesto.
constantly.
And that's just, that's like my 2 cents. Interpersonally, I don't think, we should sort of be resilient towards this foil. We should be conscious of others and spoiling things, kind of make sure when we're in our friend groups to say, hey, I'm just going to be talking about this, spoilers or whatever.
But there is also, I think, obviously it's a lot easier to kind of have that kind of control when it's in an immediate friend group. But like, I don't think there's a ubiquitous amount of time that is just flat across the playing field. But like, it's not. Let's say it's not COVID. There's no global pandemic, and the 5 of us, go to Red Robin, and we're talking about Game of Thrones, and the table next to us, or our waitress, or someone who's walking past, hears us talking about Game of Thrones spoilers in the last season, and blows a fucking gasket. Well, that's a line where it's kind of like, you do have I don't want to say a responsibility as a viewer, but you do have some form of you have a hand in the game. If you don't see something in a timely fashion and it gets spoiled for you, well, I guess you've learned your lesson. Do better next time.
And that specific example I dealt with back when I was still working at the Dive Bar Grill. That was like when season 8 come out for Game of Thrones, which granted, season 8 bad. Spoilers for Game of Thrones, season 8 is bad. When that had come out, I had watched it, and I was one of the people that was able to like see it when it came out, so I wasn't really worried about spoilers. But there were a lot of the other servers, were just kind of like, man, I really hope somebody like doesn't just talk loudly about this because I don't want to hear the spoiler. And I think the politeness, the social etiquette would dictate that, if you're in that situation, especially like we're talking days after like whatever event, like talking about Endgame right now, completely just disregard what but like talking about like show's finale that happened yesterday, I think you do kind of have to be a little bit conscientious that, you're going to be out in public. People might not have seen it. If you talk too loudly, you might spoil it for them. But I mean, it's not anything I think anybody needs to beat themselves up over. Like it is polite to at least, when you're in your Uber, maybe don't say any spoilers, or like when you're in a restaurant, just don't talk so loudly that people can hear all of the plot spoilers. But most of that isn't even related to spoilers, but more just being like being scenarios, period. Like just talking too loudly in a restaurant, you're already kind of being disrespectful. To a certain extent.
Couldn't be me.
So I just, there is a level. I think generally, like, if you do accidentally spoil something for somebody in that scenario, like you're not a dick, but it's just like a matter of like in the same way that you like wouldn't make like 9/11 jokes in public very loud. And I say you, I'm really talking about everybody else in this lobby except for
I-
you.
I
And
don't
Nick.
know, man. I would drop a quick little hey, what's Al Qaeda's favorite football team? The New York Jets. Totally would drop that in the B dubs anywhere.
There's just a social contract. You
Nick,
know,
were you even alive during 9/11?
Fuck no. I mean, yeah, but like, I don't
yeah,
remember
I was
it.
the one flying the plane.
Yeah. Yeah, bro, you think I ended up in Pennsylvania? Flight 93 was all me.
Dude, if you ever said that in front of Mikhail's mother, she'd beat your ass.
What? Oh, boy.
And see, that is where I think the line is. You know, as much as I'm saying I think that you do have to be socially conscious and polite and stuff, if anybody gets upset, like, fuck 'em.
Did she not want the spoilers for 9/11?
Spoiler alert, they're dead.
Spoiler alert, I was the one on Flight 93.
Spoiler alert, it was Dick fault.
So side
Yo,
note.
don't spoil the Dick Cheney movie. That was a great movie. Vice, iconic movie.
That was a really good movie. Evan, did you see that one twice?
No, I only saw Vice once.
I mean, same, but
Still
I
shame
feel like
on you.
Mario was trying to get us back on topic, and I don't like it.
Yeah,
9/11
I think we
is not
agree
topic
too much
for you.
on this topic.
you don't like it.
All right, well, before we close it up, what's a good story of something getting spoiled for somebody? Has anybody
Who's
gotten like
saying
something
we're
maybe-
closing up?
Yeah. We're still chatting, but I will share a fun spoiler story. I had shared this one with Mikhail. Before COVID, I'm an avid moviegoer. Part of the movie club here at Cinemark. Constantly going to the movies. I try to see literally everything I can in theaters because I just fucking love movies so much. Dude, rip COVID. My movie addiction is suffering. I'm in withdrawal. But the week leading up to The Force Awakens, at the Cinemark in Robinson, 3 separate times I'm at the movies before The Force Awakens comes out, like the week leading up to it, and I'm in the theaters, and it's before the first time it happens. It caught me off guard so bad. Where it's it's not a Star Wars movie. I'm just at the theaters for some other shit. I don't know what the fuck was out that year. And I'm in the theaters, and there's 20, 30 people, whatever. And it's like right before like the previews start. And this guy in like the front row stands up and goes, "Han Solo dies in The Force Awakens!" And it just sits down. And everyone's like, "What the fuck?" Like, and this is like a week before the movie came out. And so he fucking does this. And I was like, what the fuck? And like, I was kind of like, the movie hasn't even come out. I'm like, hey, there's no way he knows that, blah, 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 blah. But I also don't really give a shit about spoilers, so I was kind of like, whatever. A couple days later, it's like 2 days later, I'm back in the movie seeing something else. And I see this guy, and I recognize this motherfucker this time. And I'm like, oh my god, like, that's the guy who spoiled it in the beginning of the theater. And same thing, few minutes right before the movie starts, or the previews start, stands up, "Han Solo dies in The Force Awakens!" to a whole nother theater. And I'm like, what the literal fuck? Next day, I'm in the theaters again, and I'm coming, I'm there, this guy's there again, and getting real close to the preview starting, and like, I'm just curious, like, is this dude gonna do it again? Right before the preview start, dude goes to do it again, and like, right as he stands up and starts yelling, like, 2 of the fucking, like, not the ushers, but like the, theater attendants, they were like literally waiting for him, and they like came out from around the stairs, and they were like, "Come on, get out."
They tased him.
Yeah, and they tased him, and then never mind.
They killed him. They beheaded him. I saw it.
They left his head on a spike in front of Cinemark for 3 weeks.
It was me. I was the guy doing it, and they killed me.
But
we
it's
should be so lucky.
what I even said to Mikhail, it's funny to me because it's like, how many times did this guy do this? Because like, the odds that he just happened to go to the same 3 movies as me in the same theaters is not very likely. So the likelihood here is that he was just doing this over and over and over multiple times a day for literally at least a week. And because even when I said to Mikhail is, you're not going there to see Star Wars, you're not really thinking about it. And he does it right before the movie. So once you go, that happens, you might be like, what the fuck, or mad. You watch the movie you're there for. You're not thinking about it anymore. You just go and you leave. So you think like eventually someone had to have complained, and then they waited for him. Like, you know, the fact that it just took that long, I think, is very, very funny. But that is my only good spoiler story.
I don't really have a good spoiler story. I mean, I've got like one spoiler story that stands out to me. My dad is a hardcore Star Wars fan. You know, so we're like watching the Mandalorian. I also really like Star Wars. I'm like big in. And you know, last season it's the last episode, and you know, I'm like talking with my dad, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm so excited! I'm so excited!" He's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Well, you don't seem like jazzed. You know, what's going on, sport?" And he's like, well, I had something spoiled for me, and I'm pissed about it." And I'm like, "Oh, well, don't tell me what it is, but we'll talk about it after." You know, we watched the episode, and apparently, like, you know, gets up in the morning, looks at his phone, you know, checking the news, and right there in his news feed, with a picture, with just the title of the article, is Luke Skywalker's is in the new episode of the Man. And that's all it's, and it has like a picture and everything. It's like bam, right there, like no way to avoid seeing it, right there. And he was pissed. And that whole day, he was like just fucking as if he was just, you know, someone shit in his breakfast. You know, he was upset the whole day. And granted, he still enjoyed the episode when we got to see it, and sort of seeing how Luke got involved was still compelling for him. But that, you know, I felt so bad because this is like one of those things I know he's been waiting for. You know, I know he's excited to see, and it just got spoiled for him, you know, the day up. Not even like we didn't see it until the next day. It was literally the day that it dropped.
Oh, that's fucked.
Yeah, he was bummed. Right.
Sucker. No. Get fucked. It was me. I shit in his breakfast.
I wouldn't be.
My only spoiler story was the Fire Emblem games, actually, of all things. So in
But
the
don't spoil them because I've never played them.
Do you? No, shut the
I
fuck
don't
up. These
care.
have been
I
out
don't
for like
care.
15 years. The big bad guy, the Black Knight, is just so
Whoa.
fucking intimidating. That's his name,
I'm
bro.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Shut up.
BBK.
And we were like, holy shit, this guy's so cool. I wonder what the stats on his sword are like, because that thing just fucking one-shot like 3 of our dudes. So we go to look it up on the Wikipedia, and then just like it immediately redirects to like the spoiler of who he is. We're like, what the fuck? He's like he's like the general of like one of the huge armies, and like you're working with him throughout the entire story. So my brother and I know it as the Zelgius complex. Now, whenever it's like you go to a Wikipedia page and then it's just like, oh hey, by the way, it's like if you looked up Darth Vader and then got brought to Anakin Skywalker before you knew about that shit.
Just brings you to the Luke's dad page.
Yeah, like, what? Or yeah, like you Google like Luke's dad and it just comes up with Darth Vader.
I think it does.
Also, how do you guys feel about things being spoiled across forms of media? So like, well, I guess, well, it's something that Sniper put in the Twitch chat, and I feel like it's actually kind of important to talk about. People spoiled what happened to Glenn, so I just refused to watch The Walking Dead.
There are better reasons to refuse to watch The Walking Dead.
Way earlier than that happening. Beth
Alert,
Green's entire existence as a character.
2.
Yeah. Like,
Greg Nicotero's writing.
Yes, that too is just fucking garbage. That I'm pretty sure whenever Negan does Glennon in the comics is literally like before the show even started on terms of like the year that it was released. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like by the time they started the series, like that was already out and circulating, and people were like, "Oh shit! Oh, Glenn! Oh no!"
So I think that the thing is I think it kind of falls into a similar boat with the Marvel movies. You know, at the end of the day, the Walking Dead TV show is made for general audiences.
Mhm.
It is made
Absolutely.
inspired general audience. It's made from the
Audience?
what the hell was that?
Tell Katie we said hi.
Hi, Katie.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was Katie. I was so confused.
What was it? I don't know.
If you don't tell Katie we said hi, I'm a doctor.
She heard you.
In a
Y'all are
video
on
game.
speaker.
In a
She
video
said hi
game.
back.
But you know, the graphic novel is significantly darker and more serious and you know, rated mature, if you will. And it's one of those things that's kind of like when a show like The Walking Dead gets that big, most of the people watching the show had probably never read the comic ever.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like it kind of becomes like it's not really a spoiler, if that makes sense. Like, even when you think about, like, okay, when you have kids, if you show them Star Wars, you have the opportunity to have them get that first moment of like, what? Darth Vader's Luke's dad?
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like, the general consensus of the population is, yeah, no fucking shit. We know. It already happened. But you're kind of providing that, like, you know, that first experience. It's almost like kind of can compare it to, like, in my mind, like believing in Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or something like that.
What do you mean?
Like, especially with children,
What?
when they haven't, like, when it comes to media with children, think about a 12-year-old kid to their first time watching Avatar compared to a 26-year-old watching it for the third time. Like, which one's more magical? Yeah, fuck you, Jeremy.
26-year-old because I can appreciate the media.
Imagine only seeing Avatar: The Last Airbender 3 times.
Yo, I'll say the most recent time that I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender made me cry, whereas when I watched it as a kid, never cried once. Okay, maybe twice, but you know. I will say I think there is magic that continues and grows. That fuck 12-year-old me in a video game.
I think it's one of those things that you know, as a community in a lot of these different fandoms, whether it's, you know, the MCU, Star Wars, a video game, it's kind of on the fandom to preserve these things to a degree, because, like, when something gets big, like, you know, the Star Wars thing, people who have never seen Star Wars, you know the whole quote with the Darth Vader voice and everything, even though they've never seen the movie. But when someone you find someone who doesn't, or you find someone, you know, you have a kid or something like that, it's kind of, I feel like you have the opportunity to preserve that person's experience as opposed to, you know, perpetuating the problem of spoiling, if that makes sense.
So spoiling is okay unless it's children.
No. Like,
I agree, Mark. Fuck them kids.
what I'm saying
Fuck
is
them kids.
like,
In a video
okay,
game.
like when you and I met, Mark,
Avoid TOS.
the
Mhm.
likelihood that, like, I'm a diehard Star Wars fan and you don't know that Luke is the son of Darth Vader,
Yeah.
not very high. Most, if you go
Most
to if
people
you
know
go into
that.
public and throw, you know, a handful of quarters into a crowd, most likely all the quarters are going to hit people who know that Darth Vader's Luke's father.
Yeah.
So,
It's
like,
a very weird analogy, but I dig it.
making it hail on sluts. Um,
What?
that's an old Tosh.0 joke from like this is way back in the day for you young children.
Spoilers for Tosh.0.
Yeah, spoilers for Tosh.0. He makes a joke in his stand-up that, you know,
Wow, one joke the whole time.
yeah, it's just one. The rest of it is just him standing there, pacing awkwardly. Dane Cook. But his joke pretty much boils down to, you know, most people like to make it rain on hoes by, you know, and he like does the action like, you know, making cash fly out of your hand, and he's like, well, I'm poor and I don't have any hoes, so I prefer to do something I like called making it rain or making it hail on sluts. And it's when you take a handful of change, mostly pennies and nickels, and you just throw it at a bunch of dirty whores.
That's what I do.
That's how me and Nick met.
Honestly.
You were both.
We were
But
both
the point is all I was saying is that I think that with spoilers, most mainstream things are either you consume them as a fan or you have them spoiled to you as a not fan. And I think that at the end of the day, that middle ground of people who are fans and get spoiled and aren't fans and don't get spoiled are very small margins. And RIP, let's, you know, can we get an F in the chat for the people who are fans and get spoiled? But the people who aren't fans and don't get spoiled also very rarely will then find that interest later in life. So when you do find those moments, you know, it's one of those things that you gotta kind of, it's up to you if you take it upon yourself to preserve that person's ignorance for the betterment of their enjoyment. Well, with that, we are going to hit the closing statements. If you have any other comments, concerns, things that you want to state regarding this topic, co-hosts, if you have any questions for points that your fellow hosts have made this evening about the topic, now's your chance. Get it while you can, or forever shut the fuck up and never tell me about it because I don't care. Mark Jones.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't give a shit if I'm spoiled, generally. I don't think it's that big of a deal for a lot of things. But if you do it on purpose, you're kind of a piece of shit. Next.
Cannoli Head.
Fuck PK Blaze. They constantly spoiled and attempted to spoil the rhythm of war for me numerous times by constantly sending me memes and me constantly telling them to stop talking about the fourth fucking book with me, and they kept messaging me about it and constantly were like, yo, did you get to the part where this major plot thing happened? That's
Well, get fucked.
Yeah, fuck you, no.
Mikhail TF.
I would just like to say that keep spoiling PK Blaze. Keep doing it. Keep sending Jeremy memes. I appreciate it. Honestly, I have never really had much of anything spoiled for me, and it's mostly because my brain is bad. The only thing I ever really had spoiled was The Last of Us 2, and honestly, I forgot about it until I started. So I don't know. I think people are also kind of maybe a little bit sensitive to, like, when we're talking about stuff and there are people who have never engaged with the whatever it is we're talking about. You know, like Nick, for example, talking about I've already forgotten property.
Fire Emblem.
Thank you. Not that I forgot what you said, I just couldn't remember the name of the game. I've literally never played a Fire Emblem game, and I guarantee you if sometime down the road I do, I am not going to remember the fact that Nick said that the Black Knight is the guy you've been working with the whole time. I'm not going to remember. And I think generally, like, the you know, like the margin that you outlined, Mario, of like the people who are interested that could be spoiled and that would matter for them is the thin line. You know, if you're the crazy nerd who already knows what happened in the comments, you already have an idea through the rumors that you've heard and who's on set and stuff, you're not going to have stuff spoiled. If you're on the more casual side, you're going to forget the spoiler before you even see the movie to begin with. If you're that really fine line in the middle, that small slice of people, sorry, but it... Fuck Jerem.
Nikki J, or should I say Nippy J, considering
They're not out. They're not out.
Nipples.
I'm just joking.
Joe, somebody donate 10 subs to get Nick to show his nips on stream.
Yeah, donate bits. 10
Mm,
bits.
safe.
Bits
I-
for
I-
nibs, bits for nibs, bits for nibs. Woo,
Oh, gosh.
woo, woo, woo.
Fuck, I don't even remember what I was gonna say. Oh, I don't know. Spoilers. If you go out of the way to spoil something, you're a piece of shit. If you accidentally spoil something, it's okay, as long as you're not like, well, okay, fuck you. Like you should have known this. Someone did that to me with JoJo's, and I was like, how the fuck would I ever know this?
Did you know that this is the greatest anime ever? And you're just like,
I don't really think that they ruin media, and I think Mario, you said this, but to sort of like give 100% my opinion on it, ruins viewer experience, but does not ruin the actual movie. That's all Nikki J has to say.
Have you guys ever fallen for a fake spoiler?
Yes.
No, I'm far too smart and infallible to ever make such a mistake.
Yeah,
Well,
what
you're
Mario
literally
said.
God, so wouldn't you already have everything spoiled for you?
some people said that
Topic
season
of
8 of
next
Game of
week's-
Thrones was going to be good.
Uh,
That's fake.
well, there's this great there's this anime YouTuber named Nux, who he's kind of cringy, but one of his big things is he like trolls like the My Hero Academia fan base because they can be pretty toxic. And he
Really?
circulated a fake spoiler that Bakugo dies, and it's like not real. It doesn't happen, but like he circulated it aggressively, and it became
Wow.
this huge meme. And like when I like watched one of his random YouTube videos before I like knew who he was or like what he was about. And he was talking about spoilers, or he was talking about like anime he liked or something like that. And he was like, yeah, fuck My Hero. If you like My Hero Academia, like Bakugo dies in like the next whatever. And I like almost lost my shit.
Now you've spoiled the fact that Bakugo doesn't die.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
what's up,
still
you
might,
piece of
but as
shit.
of now,
You
he doesn't.
stupid piece of
TLDR,
shit. Big dumb
TLDR,
baby.
TLDR, the person in your friend group, Chad, I will leave you with these wise words. The person in your friend group that is the most concerned with people doxing other people, people spreading spoilers, and people ruining things is most likely the person who does do the doxing, does do the spoiling, and does do the ruining. And on that note, farewell, Sparky. It was nice knowing ya.
Hey!
Hey.
Doxing every stream.
Hey. No, I'm just kidding. For some reason, I'm not gonna lie. I tried to disconnect you. Stream saw it, but it just didn't work. So I guess you know.
Hitting me all the time with the fucking Nikki J insert last name.
All right. So, anyways,
We'll literally come on and say that. Like, we'll be on stream. Oh, hey, what's up,
Literally,
Nikki
Nick,
J?
Nick, it happened once.
5 times.
No,
At
it's
the
happened once.
absolute-
No, I mean
me and
5
Nick have been
fucking
keeping count behind the scenes.
Yeah, along with some other things that we shouldn't be talking about, but
Yeah.
we keep count of.
Yeah, like Jared and little girls. Anyways, so thank
No,
you guys
Jared's
for
the
sticking
kid
around.
on the
Only in
way.
video games. Only in video games. Listen, thank you guys for
No,
sticking
video
around for the
games.
podcast so much. If you are watching this on Twitch, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys hanging around. We are going to do a Q&A question set here in a hot sec. If you guys have anything you want to say, ask, whether it's related to the topic we talked about tonight or you just have random fucking shit you want these kids or myself to answer, now is the time. But if you would like to participate in this Q&A section and you're watching this on YouTube, what are you doing? This podcast goes live on Twitch every single Monday. You could be here. You could be here live, seeing everything take place in real time, participate in Q&A, and have the live interaction with myself and these motherfuckers. Not just when we're doing the podcast on Mondays, but when we're playing video games, making tier lists, and doing all sorts of other content here on twitch.tv. But without further ado, chat, I've been ignoring you for a really long time. What's up?
Yo,
How's it going?
Mikey, you've told this story like 3 times. Someone threw a chopstick, pushed through a marshmallow out of the car.
God, that reminds me.
I'm beginning to think that either this is a joke and it never happened, or it just keeps happening and Mikey's being targeted by some sort of weird, like I can't understand. I can't.
That reminds me of my friend Tony. We would go on vacation, or my brother's friend Tony. We'd go to vacation in Ocean City, Maryland every year. We'd go into this candy shop. You know those big ass gobstoppers, like the fucking gigantic ones, like the big ass jawbreakers.
You got the whole thing in your mouth.
No, Tony would talk and tell the exact same story every year, like word for word. He'd walk into the store, pick one up, chuckle, and go, you know, my neighbor used to give these to his dog, and the dog would just sit there for hours and just chew on this thing. And this happened from the ages of like Tony being 15 to like 26 whenever he last came on vacation.
You know what's sad? You know what's sad is fucking gobstoppers, giant gobstoppers like that are probably better for dogs than rawhide.
Probably. Yeah, because what rawhide's just
And
like
that's
glue.
on big pet corporations taking advantage of your small furry creatures. Fuck Petco, fuck PetSmart, fuck Puppy Mills. God damn it!
Honestly, the way I take advantage of pets is preferable.
Yeah. So, sick. Listen, you know what? Mikey in the chat's got marshmallow problems. Burn Petco and PetSmart to the ground in video games, not in real life. I'm not inciting violence. I just want you guys to, I don't know, go into Minecraft, build a PetSmart, and then light it on fire with a bucket of lava. Take your aggression out in a video game. Anyways, check me out on twitch.tv, Bird_Macklin. Click that fucking subscribe button. Be happier. For you. Not for me. For you. Goodbye.